Can you beat Baldur's Gate 3 on solo honor mode while attacking everything you see immediately? Now, when I first came up with this idea, I thought, yeah, this is a nice meme run. Maybe do a bit of True Dark Urge Massacre and be done with it. But this run turned out way harder than I ever thought it would be. Now, there are two main reasons for why this is so tough. The first one is some enemies just aren't meant to be fought, either at all or at least not at an early level. Take for example the Flaming Fist at Warkeen's Rest. Those are just there for a quest. But if you decide to fight them, you're suddenly facing up against an army of Act 3 soldiers. The same goes for, even earlier, the Druid Grove. Then there are fights that are meant to be fought, but are way too high level for the area they're in, and are usually meant as a simple come back later when you're stronger thing. However, that's not an option on this one. So, can I somehow beat the entirety of Act 1 with this rule set in mind? And how many kills will I rack up in this entire process? Well, we're gonna find out together, and without further ado, enjoy the video. Now, one important thing to address before we start is cheese. I don't want to use cheese, because in my opinion, if I'm playing a challenge run, I shouldn't be using something that removes the challenge part, if you know what I mean. Then I could just be playing the game normally. So, to make it a proper run, I am not going to use stuff like stealth archery or barromancy. However, just for comedic effect later on, I'm going to allow myself one use of barromancy, though I'm not going to use it to skip one of the most important fights. Now, of course, we start our Nautiloid journey by killing absolutely everything we come across. And that includes poor Shadowheart and Ethel, who just happen to be in the line of fire. But none of these enemies are the main danger in the tutorial, no. The main danger is Commander Zyke in the helm of the ship, and that's exactly why we chose Death Cleric as our starting class. Since we get access to some very important spells that I'm gonna break down in this step-by-step guide how to kill Commander Zyke on solo honor mode. Alright, step 1. We have to build a wall, like you just saw, out of chests and other items to block the cambions in that tiny room, making sure they die in the explosion once the Nautiloid crashes. This way we can focus our attention on Zyke in the main room. Now, we do have one ally in this fight, and he's actually the main source of damage against Zyke. Now, we handle allies very simple. Yes, we can use their help in this challenge. We kinda have to, since they're coded that way. But we have to make sure they also die at the end of combat. We can't let them live, we have to also kill them. That's a rule. Them helping us is inevitable, and we might as well use it, since our character is very bloodthirsty, but she isn't stupid. Alright, with that out of the way, we can actually start fighting Zyke. And to do that, we first disarm him. This ensures that our main damage source, the Mind Flayer, actually survives, and to increase that survivability, we also cast Protection from Evil and Good on the Mind Flayer, giving Zyke disadvantage at hitting him. Now, this is the only fight where we so heavily rely on allies to kill our enemies, but the circumstances kinda force this, since our damage is not high enough to kill Zyke in 15 turns. So, after we've buffed the Mind Flayer sufficiently, we can then focus our attention on all the smaller adds around them, using our twin spelled cantrips to pretty easily deal with them. Later, the cambions join, proving our wall works like intended, locking them in place and ensuring they die in the explosion. Now, we just basically repeat the same thing over and over again, just skipping our turn while killing all of the smaller imps and hellboars around, letting the Mind Flayer and Zyke duke it out, until they both get very low. Now, as soon as they are low enough, we then just ignite the Nautiloid tanks around them. This is my one free use of Barromancy, and honestly it's kind of a shame that this is the first fight I show for this one, because it's by far the worst example of what this challenge is about. But it's just what you have to do on solo honor mode, because otherwise this guy just doesn't die. Now, since I only use the tanks available on this specific battlefield, the Mind Flayer actually survives, which I'm honestly more happy with, because I didn't want to go around the Nautiloid collecting all the tanks. That would be more baromancy than necessary. So we just shoot the Mind Flayer and get the hell out of here. With exactly 1 turn left, we do make it out, and I should say here, I think I did this fight about 100 times with all different setups and tests, and this was the cleanest kill I got on this guy. Other kills had more Nautiloid tanks, then other kills did also hurt the Cambions, but killing them is just simply impossible. If you do have a way to actually kill them and not just lock them in that room, please comment down below. I would really appreciate knowing that, but I just didn't find a way to deal enough damage. Yeah, but we escape, luckily, and now the fun really starts. Of course, our first targets are these bandits in the ruins next to the crash site, but, of course, don't worry, I'm not gonna show all of these side fights, since that's not what you're here for, and that's not why I did this challenge run. These fights are the same on basically any run I do, and I don't want to show me fighting goblins at level 3 for the 10th time. I'm gonna show how I fight the Druid Grove and how I fight the Spider Matriarch. All of those more interesting fights are gonna get the spotlight in this video, while these fights maybe go into montages or just are mentioned on the side. I think that's a better stylistic choice, especially because that's probably why most of you clicked on this video anyways, and I want to respect that and not waste your time with these pretty much same as always side quest fights. Now everybody, say hello to Problem. Big Problem. Unkillable Problem. Yeah, okay, Withers is not killable. Well, that's not true. He is killable if you use the atrophied status effect, but the 2 main ways to get that status effect are locked behind quests. The first one is the Shadow Lantern, locked behind the Gale Companion. And the other one is locked behind us, the little intellect devourer you get on the Nautiloid and later in the Mind Flayer colony. Both of those are already dead, so we can't really kill with us. Now, there is a way still, but it does require an illicit power you get in Act 3, so for now, yeah, Withers is pretty much just a pure annoyance. It's not all bad though, since we can at least respec into Hexblade, which is the actual class I want to play for this run, since I did an entire Deathclaw playthrough on stream when patch 8 dropped. So, while being very annoying and kinda spitting in the face of this challenge run, he's gonna die at some point, so I'm fine with that. So, after this little in-between segment done, we can then prepare ourselves for Chapter 1, the Druid Grove, by leveling up to level 3 from the Grove defense fight, and respeccing into Hexblade Warlock, like I said a second ago. We make sure to pick up spells like Witch Bolt and Cloud of Daggers, since they are very OP in the early game, and you'll see exactly why in a second when we fight the Druids. We also choose the Pact of the Chain for a free summon, since Hexblade doesn't need Pact of the Blade up until level 5. So now it is time for Chapter 1, the Druid Grove. And honestly, it starts out pretty alright. The Tieflings are mostly unarmed refugees, and those who are armed are fairly easy to defeat. But the main danger obviously lies in the Druids. Some of the Druids, including Korgar, the Archdruid, have access to the Moonbeam spell. Moonbeam deals, when you calculate both instances of damage that are guaranteed, up to 40 damage, which, if you take one look at my current health pool, is a one-shot. So if I play this wrong, they will kill me instantly. What can I do against this? Well, obviously, Druids are spellcasters. So I need to find some way to make them use their spell slots without actually targeting me. Luckily, this area is packed with tension. Now, I can't just walk past all the tieflings, since, as per the rules, I have to immediately attack them. But, you see that even though I have killed 90% of the tieflings already, it's still enough for what my actual plan is. So to understand what I'm doing here, you have to understand how the Druid Grove actually works. If you attack any of these guards, what the game thinks is happening is the tieflings are uprising. Of course, most of the tieflings are dead. The only ones that aren't dead are the civilians that are closer to the Druid Grove, those you can see here protesting. So what happens is those get dragged into combat all the way in the tiefling prison against every single remaining druid, except for a few of the lesser dangerous druids. Those that can shapeshift into bears and cast minor spells. Those will fight in different spots in the Druid Grove. And the last one is obviously the one I attacked right here, who will then remain and fight me. So after I kill this one druid, I can then go back to all the other smaller fights of druids that don't contain Korga and all the main danger druids. I can kill all of those very easily since they're separated from the main bulk. And while I do that, you can even hear it in the distance, even though I'm talking over it right now. You can hear Korga use her spell slots on all the civilians of the tieflings, since all of them are bunched up in that one bulky mass in the tiefling prison. So, not only do I get to separate all the druids, but I also make it so when I come to fight Korga, she already used all of her spell slots. So what essentially happens is she becomes a very tanky, but essentially useless punching bag. Another detail about the Druid Grove is that it inhabits the Strange Ox. Now, usually the Strange Ox actually has a pretty decent quest line linked to the Dark Urge, but he also happens to spawn a level 4 glyph of acid when he dies. This means he is essentially Baromancy, but cool, and cool is legal, so yeah. So we can just use the Strange Ox to blow up this entire fight and get all those free kills, while also dealing with the Strange Ox, who by himself is extremely dangerous because he can also one-shot me with his paralyzing strikes. So it's essentially just two birds, one stone. I guess. One explosion. So after I kill all of these druids, I then go to Korga, who now is in the prison with all the other tiefling civilians, trying to kill them. The reason why I want her to be there is because the prison is a dead end. Well, at least for NPCs it is. So, I can then just cast a cloud of daggers at the entrance, locking all of them in there. Now of course they can leave, but they will always take damage from my cloud of daggers before they can even get line of sight to me, which they need since they're all mostly ranged spellcasters or even just shapeshifters. So doing this, I can really chip them down, especially because Korga uses all her last resources in that fight against the mostly harmless tiefling refugees. So after waiting for a few turns, watching, I assume blissfully as the tieflings are getting slaughtered, since my character is kind of a psychopath, I then just simply wait for all of them to leave, and when they are grouped up around my cloud of daggers, I can use a few void bulbs to squeeze out a bit more damage from dragging them in there, but of course that won't kill all of them, and I'm not expecting it to. It's just nice to chip a few of them down.
These boots have seen everything.
So after the second Void Bulb does get all of the other druids, I am now in a one-on-one situation with Korga. And this was extremely predictable and the exact reason why it was so important to drain her spell slots. If she even had one cast of Moonbeam left here, I would be 100% dead. Not exaggerating, this is death if she has any cast left. However, she doesn't, I made sure of that. So now, even though I didn't even have the staff bound as my Hexblade weapon, I still managed to outdamage her, since all she has now is a scimitar and a dagger, both not even enchanted. So, pretty easy fight at this point, but the setup was really key for this one. Now, of course, I want to show the kill on her, but it really took a long time, since I missed that Witchbolt cast, which would have accelerated things quite a bit. So here's the kill in 400% speed. There you go. So yeah, that's the Druid Grove done. Pretty easy if you know exactly how the entire place works. And after taking all of that treasure, we can conclude the chapter with quite the respectable kill count already. Up the road of the Grove, in our next inter-chapter segment, we do find this dead body, of course after killing the two siblings. And this one is the first Mind Flayer parasite we come across that actually is interactable. Now, I can't accept this one, even though I need illicit powers for killing Withers in Act 3. This one is the only Mind Flayer parasite, no, not the only one, one of the two Mind Flayer parasites in the game that's actually killable. So I have to kill this guy. However, I do need to use the power, so the next chance I get, I will have to use them, just so I can kill Withers eventually. And they're just a nice bonus, especially on a challenge this difficult. But yeah, just FYI, that's why I have to kill this one guy, but I still need to use them eventually. Now, any animal lovers, you should probably close your eyes now, because Chapter 2 isn't starting off nice. When I say kill everything I can, that means everything I can. Now apparently we are already so evil that the game itself offers us kills during long rest. And the great thing is that since we already killed Alfira, we actually get the Dragonborn Bard instead, who is another addition to our kill count that we only get because we already killed Alfira, which is very nice. So +1 here, and we are off to the Blighted Village.
No, the question flows through your... If you could craft a corpse like this in one night, what masterpieces have you sculpted in your forgotten decades? You don't have much time for reflection. The bedroll becomes... You wonder if you'll miss...
So, the Blighted Village. Usually pretty easy area. You have a bunch of goblins and some skeletons in the basement, and then maybe the peak of danger are these ogres I'm fighting in the background right here. So, where's the problem? Well, the problem isn't the village itself. It's the cave system below. There are two caves around. One of them inhabits the Owlbear. The Owlbear is stupidly tanky, has damage that is larger than our HP pool, and it's the first enemy we come across with a legendary action. So, needless to say, very lethal. The second Apex Predator, which doesn't make any sense, because Apex Predator implies that it's only one, but it sounds cooler, is the Spider Matriarch. The Spider Matriarch is, in my humble opinion, of having played this game for a very long time, the hardest fight in Act 1, bar none. It is stupidly tanky as well, but it also has some insane damage, and the legendary action is just an instant game over on solo honor mode if you don't prep for it properly. So, these will be the main focus of our Blighted Village. I'm not even gonna show the goblin kids. It's Cloud of Daggers plus goblins. Like, it's a match made in heaven. What do you want me to show? And yeah, these kids are nothing special. I'm not gonna waste your time with them. I'm just gonna add them at the kill count at the end of the chapter. No, the main focus are these fantastic fights that okay, just these 2 fights alone took me each one entire evening just to figure out how I'm gonna do them. It was a lot of strategizing, a lot of planning, because obviously I could just go around, collect fire wine barrels and blow them up, right? But that would be no fun. So I came up with some very cool strategies, and I'm very proud of those as well, as you might be able to tell. So I'm really excited to show these to you guys, because it's genuinely using some of the coolest anti Apex Predator mechanics in the entire game. It is, especially the Spider Matriarch kill, I'm so proud of that one. That one took me so long to figure out, and I was, yeah, okay. So, let's start with the Owlbear. For this one, I actually respec into Death Cleric again. This is the only respec I'm gonna do for the entire rest of the run. I just need it here, you'll see why in a second. Just like Korga's fight, this fight has a very simple key. And that is to never let her use her legendary action. Her legendary action is a scream that summons a one-on-one copy of her, which is supposed to be her mate. It also has 118 HP, and also rages at half HP, dealing more damage afterwards. So it is insanely important we do not let that happen. That's why we needed Death Cleric for the Silence spell. The Silence is one of 2 ways to avoid her action completely, as long as she stays within the radius. She can only use the scream after getting damaged, which means if she somehow leaves the area of silence, she won't just be able to scream regardless of what I'm doing. So all we have to watch out for is that she stays within the area whenever I damage her. That's all we need to do. However, that's not just gonna win us the fight. She still has a huge amount of HP and also quite life-threatening damage. So what we do is we blind her as well. This will give her disadvantage on attack rolls, and initially I thought this would also prevent her from jumping up on the roof, but apparently she just cheats and can jump up anyway. However, the disadvantage on attack rolls is still very important. To make sure we have a higher chance of applying blindness, we drop this spiked bulb using this cheeky box tech. This will make her bleed. Now bleeding does damage, but that's almost negligible. What we want is the disadvantage on constitution saving throws for 1 turn. So the application of the blindness is more likely to succeed. After this, we just cast blindness on her, and we hope for the best. Now luckily we also get advantage on our own attack rolls against her, which is quite important considering we only have so many real valuable attacks since we use spell slot for damage.
On my way.
Now she just cheats and jumps a way too big distance for being blinded. She shouldn't be able to target me up there, but she just can for some reason. And now she's out of the silence zone, which means we cannot deal damage to her if we don't want her mate to be summoned. So now we have to use another level 2 spell slot to cast another silence field. We are very lucky this multi-attack did not hit us, because it could have proned us, resulting in a loss of concentration. Now of course her disadvantage does carry us quite a bit here, and since she's enraged now, she can use multi-attack every single turn. We cannot let that happen. So this next turn we have to sacrifice our 2 remaining level 2 spell slots to just make sure to remove her rage using calm emotions, but then to re-establish the silent sphere so she never ever runs out of it and can summon her mate. Those are the two main goals of this turn. You will notice that damage isn't really a priority right now. It is to completely disable her and her entire kit. That's what our entire gameplay revolves around. Now she finally saved the blindness, but at this point it's already too late for her. We got her where we want her, we have 2 more spellcasts left for this turn, so she's basically dead at this point.
Cub looks from you to his dead mother. A single strike will end his suffering.
So yeah, that's the first one of the 2 down. In my opinion, she's the easier one, but she does drop a very important item. She drops the Spearhead, which is the counterpart to the hilt you find on the dead guy with the Mind Flayer Parasite. This allows you to craft the Knight of the Absolute, a very powerful weapon that not only blinds targets on hit if they fail a DC 12 Dexterity saving throw, but it also deals 2d6 extra piercing damage to targets with multiple sets of eyes. And spiders just so happen to fall under that category, making it the perfect weapon for the Spider Matriarch.
The coin disappears into the well. After a moment...
After entering the well, we first of all things go to this little extra chamber where we can collect special boots. These boots make it so we can't be enwebbed, which is very important for fighting the Spider Matriarch, and just the battle beforehand with the Ettercaps and 2 Phase Spiders. Speaking of that battle, it's very easy if you just have the Knight of the Absolute dealing extra damage to both of these enemies, and also the boots that can't enweb you. The infested effect of the Ettercaps can easily be removed with acid or fire damage, so nothing to worry about there, and our damage is more than sufficient to take care of these guys. So now for the big lady herself. We sneak up on her, perfectly avoiding her cone of vision, to get her into a spot where we can attack her immediately, while also making sure that if she falls from this height, where she ends up, you will see that in a second she will go on the web to her left, there is a spot where if she falls, she will get prone until long rest. That is important for a thing I will explain to you in a second. For now, let's watch the setup. Now we precisely sneak up on her here, making sure we are on the web because we want to drop down with her. Our Featherfall will make sure we don't take damage from that, but this will allow us to immediately attack her once she's down, and not having to use any bonus actions to jump down. Just a simple skip. We then drop a bomb, which doesn't really do much damage to her. It instead just blows up the web. We don't really have any other way to make sure the web drops turn 1, so we have to use a bomb here. She has high dex, she will probably save the bomb, but the web is really the main reason we need this. Then, once she dropped down, we will continue with our plan down there. So now she's prone until long rest, but she also rolled higher initiative than us. So we have to make sure we do something very tricky here. Since she's prone, her only way of even getting a turn is to spend half her movement speed to get up. It's not like other prone effects that just expire after 1 or 2 turns. This one is permanent unless she spends movement speed. Meaning, if we deny her movement speed entirely, she won't be able to get up, essentially paralyzing her. So we use Wrathful Smite. Wrathful Smite will frighten her. Frighten, of course, removes all her movement speed. So we just have to hope this Smite lands, otherwise we're cooked, as the youth would say.
No choice but to keep going.
And there we go. Paralysis achieved. Now she's still not dead. However, our damage output is quite high. So this is already a massive victory for us. Now right here I have to make a choice. Do I continue to melee attack her, going a bit of a safer route, but next turn she will likely not be frightened anymore? Or do I lose concentration now by going for Witch Bolt, but potentially killing her outright in just one action? And I make a miscalculation here. I could have easily used Shovel to pop the water bottle, saving me one action. This is honestly a massive blunder, and I don't know how I did this. So yeah, her not dying here is entirely my fault and could have been avoided. Oh yeah, and before someone comments about Shovel, first of all, it's kinda out of the ordinary that I even used this guy, since I usually never use any kind of summon, unless it's a summoner class. But I thought, since it's also like a murder hobo, I might as well use it. And it's also not alive, it's a spell. It's not a living being, so I could even kill it if I wanted to. So I just want to clarify that. I thought it would fit thematically, that's all.
Light on my feet.
But yeah, that's the Spider Matriarch done. Pretty clean kill, honestly. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Of course, there was this one little fuck up in the middle where I just didn't use the water properly, but whatever. It turned out all well, so can't really complain. I just used this Invis turn, or these two Invis turns, to get rid of Lethargic. Then I just killed these two spiders as well, and we're done. Of course we can't leave before we're taking a selfie, which, if you were following my community posts, you already know this image. Which, by the way, if you want to, go ahead and subscribe, so you don't miss my content. If I ever upload. And yeah, otherwise just like the video or comment down below, or those help out a ton. Anyway, we go ahead and enter the goblin camp, and goblins really just are a staple of every single playthrough. Nothing special here really. It's just the same little rodent in 30 different outfits, it feels like. So these guys are pretty boring to fight as per usual. I'm just gonna show you Halsin right here, and then Minthara and Droraxlin. Now Raxlin gets the Witchbolt treatment, but at this point I was really just thinking about one thing, and it was in the Risen Road. And no, it wasn't Flint or any of the Gnolls. I mean, those are just basic early game enemies. We don't really have to pay too much attention to them. They do drop quite a bit of XP and speed potions though, which is very nice. No, the real problem are the Flaming Fist at Warkeen's Rest. And I'm sure a lot of you are curious how that fight is done, because those guys are dangerous, like real dangerous. Because it's not just one big enemy that I can somehow stun and or incapacitate just for 8 turns straight. No, it's a bunch of enemies that can really do some damage if I let them. So after going through the Risen Road, doing all the basic normal stuff, we are ready to face them at level 5. Now, to be fair, level 5 is quite the power spike, and we make sure to not only get the Pact of the Blade, which gives us extra attack with our main hand weapon, but we also get Hunger of Hadar, which is a very OP spell, and you're gonna see exactly why in just a second. In fact, I'm not even gonna comment on this fight. I'm just gonna let you soak it in, the perfection, the absolute magnificence of Hunger of Hadar.
One day I'll catch a break.
Next up is of course Counselor Floric, who gives a surprising 150 XP for just killing her, even though she doesn't even fight back, which is very nice. And of course the Zentrum are very easy to defeat, since, surprise surprise, enemies that you are meant to actually fight are very easy to defeat in this game. Who could have guessed that? Yeah, they also get the Hunger of Hadar treatment, and we make our way into the Underdark after already reaching level 5, which I think is a new record for me. I don't think I've ever reached the Underdark after reaching level 5. That's cool. Our first big fight in the Underdark is against the Spectator. Now this guy is incredibly dangerous, since he can paralyze you and then just crit you to death. However, he also happens to have multiple eyes, even though his main eye is only one. He does have tiny eyes on his tentacle things, so that's why the vision of the Absolute deals extra damage against him, which is perfect. So all we need to do is use our newly gained extra attack to just obliterate the guy before he can even get a turn. And of course, even though they're already petrified, we can't have those drow survive either. From one big enemy to the next, we then encounter the Bullet. However, in this location, the guy only stays for 2 turns, so all we have to do is simply cast Fear on him, making him afraid. This makes it so he doesn't one-shot us, since he can easily do that. And this also gives us some time to plan an actual kill on him in one of the other locations he can appear in. But for now, he just burrows.
You are swallowed by a chorus of turbulent music. The choir. You see.
Now next up is a bunch of much easier enemies, the Myconids. Now sadly we do not have any fire spades, but just crossbows dipped in fire and a few very well placed alchemist fires, and these guys are dead anyway. They are very easy to defeat. However, this doesn't change that I'm very annoyed by the fact that even though there's a kill montage going in the background right now, all of these guys don't actually earn us any kills to our kill score. It's one big hive mind. It's like cutting off a mushroom from mycelium. You don't kill the mushroom. So, not until we kill the Sovereign, we won't get any kills. And even then it's only one, which really annoys me for some reason. However, one guy who does give us a full kill is this Trader Blurk. Now the reason why we have to once again use Witchbolt on this guy is because he actually has a unique action called Teleport, which allows him to teleport to Act 3 immediately. He uses this when he's attacked too much, so to one-turn him we have to use Witchbolt here, otherwise we wouldn't have the burst damage to prevent him from teleporting away. Now since the Sovereign really is not that hard to kill at all, And this entire mushroom colony is more of a joke anyway, in my opinion. I thought it would be funny to use some Barromancy here. Now I know I said I wouldn't use it, but come on, it's not like I'm saving myself from like a massively difficult fight here. I fought these guys plenty of times before, so I actually know what I'm talking about here. These guys are not hard to defeat at all. So I just sneak up behind the guy, then go to camp to collect all my Firewine Barrets, and just drop them all right behind him as a pocket nuke. Then we go all the way around and simply ignite the fuse. And is it just me, or did that explosion just look weirdly unsatisfying? Like, it wasn't an explosion at all, it just kind of did damage. And that's all. But maybe it's just me, but I feel like that wasn't what it's supposed to look like.
Another step forward.
One thing I should mention is that even though we don't have access to traders, these guys, and like I mentioned earlier, the Gnolls, drop so many alchemical ingredients that I actually never ran into the problem of not having any potions when I needed them. Like, speed potions were healthily provided by the Gnolls, and just HP potions also no problem at all. So if you ever do one of these runs, the trader part isn't actually that big of an issue like I thought. Speaking of traders, Dareth is usually my go-to pick when it comes to just trading for potions, but sadly this time that's not happening, so we just kill her for XP, and she doesn't even drop any potions for us. The audacity to do that is insane. But, of course, right next to her is the secret treasure room of the Myconids, which contains some very valuable items, and thanks to the Sovereign's Key we can just go inside there without doing the quest. And the main item in there is the Invis hat. That just allows me to make surprising easier, especially because I don't want to use shovel every time. I feel like that's boring. So I do use her sometimes, but sometimes I can just use my own Invis hat to be more independent. Now it's time for the rematch with the Bullet, and the idea here was to kinda stealth it and then surprise it once it spawns, but I kinda messed that one up. Gonna be honest, that's totally on me. But I'm just gonna have to improvise here, and the plan is to just simply fry her with Witchbolt. Now, you might be wondering, where did those temporary hit points go? And that's just because I cut out the hook horror fight, because it took so long. I think the entire fight with the hook horrors is like half an hour if I look at the file right now. So I just figured I'd cut it out, especially because those guys aren't all that interesting anyway. But that's where the temporary HP went. Not like it matters too much right here, I have Witchbolt at the ready anyway.
Still on my feet. With haste.
We make sure to get the high ground here for better attack roads, and then we just go to town with Witchbolt. Pretty simple stuff. Now, for all of you Witchbolt or lightning damage wet haters out there, I see you. I'm not a big fan of it either, but for this fight I thought, before I get one-shot so late into the run, I'd better play it safe. But if I remember correctly, I think this is the last time I used Witchbolt. So you can now breathe freely again. Also, look at that! I finally found someone I don't have to kill immediately. Since Bernard, just like Shovel, is not alive, it's just a spell. So, once again, another friend achieved. Let's go. But enough of that. Our little murder hobo needs some more stuff to kill.
You! What are you doing on Gex Raft? Where's Gek? Who are you?
Where do I go from here?
Now this fight is usually actually quite difficult because obviously you can just get shoved off, or these guys can just out-damage you since you have nowhere to run. But if you just put one Hunger of Hadar on the other boat, they are all blinded, so they can't target you. But they also can't jump off the boat because their jump distance gets lowered from being blinded. So what happens is they just stand there in the Hunger of Hadar and die. It's kind of morbid, but it's way too efficient to not be funny. Just make sure you kill this one throwing alchemist, because Larian still hasn't fixed enemies being able to throw stuff while blinded. It's been an issue ever since the game released, and somehow they don't care. But as long as this guy is dead, nobody else can target you. And yeah, just pretty easy, I'm gonna be honest. If you want to see more full-length fights, let me know down in the comments. Because for this video in particular, I cut down a lot of footage with a bunch of fights just reduced to one highlight or a montage. So let me know if you prefer this structure as it is right now, with only very few fights being highlighted and explained in detail, or if you maybe would have preferred if this entire thing was not just one video, but then multiple videos with more detail to each fight. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about that.
Whipping it ready, lass.
Also, something I cannot wrap my mind around is, for some reason, no matter how you talk to these guys, there's not a single option to initiate combat. These are supposed to be guards that don't trust me. And somehow, no matter what I say, I can't initiate combat with these. What kind of choice illusion is this?
You feel the slightest of stirrings in your head. The Dwergar.
In that case, let's couple in. You absolute shaggers owe us a crapload of coin. You want unclog your hole. Just shitting around. But I'm warning you, that twat soul ain't settled up soon. There'll be hell to pay for the lot of you cult buggers.
Luckily for us, there's always a way to initiate combat though.
Attacked someone. Only the...
I'll strike you down.
Now, since we are very close to level 6, I started killing all the Draga around, which obviously is in spirit of the run. But after killing a few, I noticed something. These two Draga right here are supposed to shove these corpses in the... whatever this is, I think a river or like an underground lake. And if you kill them, of course you can initiate dialogue with the corpses, telling them you're gonna look through their pockets. But if you press the trading option in this dialogue, you can trade with the dead gnomes. This only allows you to actually take the ring from them, which you can just loot from them anyway. But I found this very funny because technically this is allowed. So there is some trading you can do even though this rule set is in place. Just wanted to show this. We do continue our killing spree, killing my favorite NPC in the game sadly, which is the stonemason, but sacrifices have to be made, especially if sacrifices give us level 6. And after killing all of the Draga that aren't in the main room, we do actually get level 6, which is the main reason why I wanted to play Hexblade, because now we get access to the accursed specters. So now, whenever someone dies who is afflicted by our Hexblade curse, we can use their corpse to summon one of these insanely cool, like, spine demon skeleton things that just attack for you as a reaction. And essentially what they do is they are stationary by default, but they can teleport behind targets you attack if they have the Hexblade curse. They can also devour enemy souls, healing you in the process. It's very broken, but so cool, like genuinely. Just look at this thing, it's awesome. With our new Spectre buddy, killing the rest of the Draga is insanely easy. And we can then finally free Nia, our fellow true soul, who I'm sure will survive this encounter.
Beldron, can you hear me? Beldron!
Finally. Worthless slaves! Your incompetence has been my ruin! Nia does not fail.
Beldron! No!
What is this, then? The Absolute's servants, dead. Yet a true soul still lives. I am sure there's a sane explanation. Traitor, you have breathed.
I'm gonna be entirely honest. I don't blame him for being scared. I think if I got freed by someone and then saw that, I'd just go back into the poison on my own.
Gods take you first.
Heretic! You never have it.
Another parasite. Collect it. It might be useful.
Even though in the Ancient Forge part there is literally nothing alive, because neither the animated armors nor the elementals count as living beings, I still killed everything there, and I also hammered Grim down, just so I can get the better armor piece. Those of you who paid pretty close attention may have noticed that I was using a very special melee weapon the entire time. Morning Frost. Now Morning Frost is usually the classic code sorcerer staff, because what it does is, whenever you attack someone with a spell that deals cold damage, they get chilled. However, Booming Blade also counts as a spell. So, since Morning Frost always deals cold damage on the melee attacks, you deal cold damage with the spell, meaning you chill your enemy. At least there's a chance. It's bound to a DC. So, I can demonstrate this using Ethel right here. When I cast Booming Blade on her, she will probably get chilled, and chilling makes her vulnerable to ice damage. Which then I can either use to bait her into hitting me with Armor of Agathis, but being chilled also makes it that if you are hit with anything that applies wet, you get immediately frozen. And frozen makes it so you're vulnerable to bludgeoning, force and thunder damage. So I can either cast Eldritch Blast on her, or I can just hit her once more with my weapon, and either way she will take massive damage. This combo is crazy, and if this was a build video I'd probably go more in depth on it, but I think just seeing it in action is more than enough for now.
I won't give in. Survival is all that matters. Where do I go from here? Well, so much for peace. Fireplace isn't real. What's hidden behind it?
Yeah, that setup is slightly broken. And some of you may be asking yourselves why the video is ending right now, and we haven't even seen the Githyanki. And I'm gonna be entirely honest, Act 2 is way too boring, so I need the Githyanki as a sort of filler arc in there. Because Act 2 is basically just a bunch of random fights where you are attacked anyway. There is no peaceful solution to all of those fights, so this playthrough won't be any different from other playthroughs just for that act. Meaning, I do kinda need content for the next part, so I'm gonna put the Githyanki in there. Because everything else is just Last Light and Moonrise. All the other fights are no different from a regular playthrough. So yeah, that's why I need to do it that way. And yeah, also, I should address why this video took so long. If I look in my downloads or library right now, I can see 5 different finished videos. Each one is slightly longer than this one, and I just was never really happy with how it turned out. I had so many different ideas for how I want this new kind of approach to be, because usually I do build videos, which are a very set formula, very easy to do, since it's always kind of the same spirit. But for this one, it's just new. I didn't know how to approach it, so I just had a bunch of drafts. Then I just decided to not do them and just re-edited everything. And I was never really happy. That's why I never published anything for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, this one, I think this one is alright. Obviously, there isn't everything great with it. I still have some issues, but at this point, I just need to upload something. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, comment below what you liked most, so I can improve on the other things. And yeah, like and subscribe if you want to. Have a great day. Oh yeah, and of course, before I forget, we have a final kill count of 403. Now, I'm gonna be entirely honest. Even though I did spend roughly like 5 hours going through footage counting these kills, at like plus minus 10. So you get the true value. I'm not quite sure I got all of them. And I might have even forgotten about someone I had to kill, but this should roughly be the correct number.